that he was wearing a vest that had the appearance of an explosive device. We were told earlier by Greater Manchester Police that a bomb disposal unit was on the scene, and they couldn't confirm initially that the suspect had died because of concerns about suspicious objects on his person. So that adds a little bit more colour there. And what he was about to say, as your feed cut out, was an appeal to people to refrain from posting disturbing online content, to take it directly to police. I think what you get the sense now is that the police are really trying to control the flow of information here. And in that vein, this was the second of two briefings that we've had in the last hour. The first, and this should tell you something about how seriously they're treating this, came from the head of counter-terrorism policing in London, so the National Authority on Counter-Terrorism Policing. And have a listen to some of the updates that he brought.
The attacker has been shot dead by the police. We believe we know their identity, but for safety reasons at the scene, we're unable to confirm at this stage. 3 other members of the public are in a serious condition. We have also made 2 further arrests. And based on what we know, counter-terrorism policing has declared this as a terrorist incident.
So they say that they know the identity of the suspect but cannot release it yet. Again, I think out of caution around the safety issues of approaching the body of this suspect. So that is where we are right now. They're trying to control the flow of information. But overall, this has already had major ripple effects. The Prime Minister has cut short his trip to Denmark, is chairing a COBRA meeting, an emergency meeting of cabinet ministers and other agencies this afternoon. Policing is being stepped up. Security is being stepped up at synagogues and Jewish sites around the country. They were already on high alert, as we've seen an uptick in anti-Semitic incidents, but I think this on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, really does see their worst fears being realised. Christina?
Yeah, and Claire, we saw the Prime Minister arriving back in Downing Street a short while ago to chair that COBRA meeting, as you say, underlining the seriousness now with which the UK government are taking that. What is the significance of a COBRA meeting being called, and what could we expect to come from that?
So a COBRA meeting is essentially where you bring together the various agencies involved. It usually involves cabinet ministers. In this case, it may involve regional leaders from Manchester as well, security officials, anyone who could contribute to coordinating the response to this. I think, you know, we've already had a sense, certainly from Keir Starmer and others talking about this, that this will lead to an uptick in security around Jewish sites, and perhaps more in terms of how they're going to coordinate that in the investigation, which appears to now be being led by counter-terrorism policing at Scotland Yard. But I think critically they are trying to get out in front of this, trying to prevent the flow of information from getting out of control. And I think we certainly see that from how quickly the Prime Minister responded to this and how quickly we've seen the police come out and talk specifically about what they know at this point, and urging the public to go directly to the police with any information. Christina?
Continue our coverage of the breaking news out of Manchester, England. Police say that 2 people have died after a man rammed his car into a crowd of people at a synagogue. The attacker began stabbing people before officers shot and killed
just like
him.
the church in Portland, I guess, huh?
The holiest day
Copycat.
of the Jewish calendar. Well, security has been increased at synagogues across the UK. An organisation called the Community Security Trust reports that 2023 and 2024 were record years for episodes of anti-Semitic
right after whatever
incidents.
deal that they
London's
had.
mayor said he is taking extra steps to make the Jewish community feel safe.
I want to reassure them that in London they will be seeing additional police officers. People should be allowed to go about and practice their faith, knowing they're going to be safe. Unfortunately, too many Jewish Londoners, Jewish people across the country, Jewish people across the globe don't feel that way, and that's heartbreaking.
Nick Robertson joins us now from Manchester. And Nick, I know you've been on the ground now for a couple of hours, where I'm sure there is still a great deal of shock over what has happened there. Just tell us what you're seeing.
There is, and in part, as details emerge from the police now describing this as a terror incident, that they say the attacker appeared to have or be wearing some kind of explosives, and for safety reasons that has meant getting more details about him following his shooting because he didn't comply with police instructions. It has meant it takes more time to get that sort of information, more information about him. But people here are outraged, they're angry, they're afraid. People here are still trying to figure out precisely what has happened. Of course, Yom Kippur, this is an Orthodox area, that one of the holiest days of the year. People would not, many in this community would not be using their phones. We spoke to a lady earlier who'd literally walked quite some distance to get to other members of her family to tell them that she was okay, because the synagogue that was the focus of the attack today was where she would normally go with her children. So people are, as you say, just coming to terms with it, but a lot of fear in the community here, as this witness tells us.
Today is Yom Kippur. It's a very holy festival, and I'm Jewish and absolutely terrified. And our neighbour across the road, he goes to the synagogue, and he was telling us what was going on, and it's just absolutely frightening, because I'm scared for my own safety and my mum's safety, because I just feel that the Jewish, we're not pulling together anymore. I just feel there was so many people down that road taking pictures, and they're happy to be on camera, but they don't realise the impact it's putting on the Jewish community now.
Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke earlier after chairing an emergency security meeting. He said the victims were targeted because of their faith, and he's vowing to ramp up security to protect Jews.
To every Jewish person in this country, I also want to say this. I know how much fear you will be holding inside of you. I really do. And so, on behalf of our country, I express my solidarity, but also my sadness that you still have to live with these fears. Nobody should have to do that. Nobody.
Nick Robertson is in Manchester with the very latest. Nick, this was a quick but ferocious attack, an extraordinary response, it appears, as well, from the emergency services.
A very quick response from the emergency services. The police used a coded alert system that they rarely use. It brought in all the armed officers across the region, who quickly surrounded the attacker. But what the police are saying is that the thing that really prevented more bloodshed was the fact that of the selfless actions of the security staff at the synagogue, whom they say tried to stop the man getting inside the synagogue that was crowded with people for prayers on this holiest of day, Yom Kippur. And it could have been much worse if the attacker had got inside the synagogue. Now, the arrests that the police have talked about, 2 men being arrested, it's not clear that they are directly linked to the attacker, or if they're a link to the attacker. But what we do know is that these arrests happened barely a quarter of a mile in these quiet residential streets, barely a quarter of a mile from the synagogue. So this seems to be quite a localized, if you will, situation. And of course, one of the top priorities for the police is to make sure not only is the attacker no longer a threat, but that there are not co-conspirators out there in the community who are planning other actions as well. And of course, the Prime Minister vowing, as he was saying there, additional policing outside of synagogues, outside of Jewish community centres. When we were driving up here this afternoon, Max, we saw 2 police officers standing outside a Jewish museum here in Manchester. This whole area has been flooded with police. You can probably hear the sirens going into the night here. Police helicopters have been up in the past couple of hours as well, Max.
So they had security there because, that's the case, isn't it? Particularly on Yom Kippur, because they've got bigger crowds in the synagogues as usual. But it didn't work, which is, I think, what I understand to be what's so frightening for Jewish people around the UK today. They have brought in extra security, and it still happened.
And indeed, what the Prime Minister is offering for some people will feel too little, too late. I've been speaking to people here today, who've been trying to get more information, trying to find out what's going on, from the Jewish community here, lived in the streets here, not able to get past the roadblock at the moment. And what they've been saying is that this is something that they've been fearing that's been coming for some time because of the rise in anti-Semitic attacks. So even though the security, and we'll have all seen it around Jewish community centers, that maybe a year or so ago would have been one person and it's been stepped up to 2 or 3 people, whether it's a kindergarten school for Jewish children, a synagogue in our communities, will have seen that being stepped up. And as you say, it wasn't enough today because this attacker used a complex attack by ramming his vehicle, then jumping out with a knife, an attack that seems to have been premeditated because he had a knife with him, pre-planned because he appears to have picked a day in the Jewish calendar when he could have counted on a high number of people attending the mosque, and even potentially as well, knowing the area enough, knowing precisely how he would perpetrate this attack. Of course, that's the work of the police now, to figure out just what it went into it and just how to prevent any more. But without the security personnel, it could have been much worse, Max.
Security is being stepped up at synagogues across the UK after the holiest day in the Jewish calendar was shattered by what authorities are now calling a terror incident outside a synagogue. According to police near Manchester, a man drove his car into a crowd gathered at the synagogue. 1 person was stabbed, 2 people lost their lives, and 3 others are in...
Grab the shovel. All right, Paulie. Any last words?
Actually, yes. Have you guys contacted Missouri One Call yet? It is the best way to ensure your digging location is safe by having all your local utilities marked ahead of time. It's easy, and it's the law.
No matter the job, click or call 811 before you dig.
It's so easy, guys.
Those affected. I'm on my way back to London. When I arrive, I will chair an emergency COBRA meeting. I'm already able to say that additional police assets are being deployed to synagogues across the country, and we will do everything to keep our Jewish community safe.
Well, police in Manchester, England are holding a news conference following the synagogue attack that left 2 people dead and others injured. The attacker also dead. Let's just listen in now.
And he was fatally shot by officers within 7 minutes of the original call. 4 further people remain in hospital, having suffered a variety of serious injuries, and their treatment is ongoing, and our thoughts are with them and their families. Inquiries are moving at pace.
Sounds similar.
And very visible and proactive policing activity is ongoing
I
across
smell
Greater
a plot.
Manchester and beyond. Updates will be provided as soon
planning
as
a war,
is
plotting a
practicable.
war.
Our priority is to keep the public safe. At this time, we know that a car was driven directly at members of the public outside the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue on Middleton Road, Crumsall, in Manchester. The driver of the car was seen then to attack people with a knife. He was wearing about his body a vest which had the appearance of an explosive device. There were a large number of worshippers attending the synagogue at the time of this attack, but thanks to the immediate bravery of security staff and the worshippers inside, as well as the fast response of the police, the attacker was prevented from gaining access. All those inside were safely contained until police were able to confirm that it was safe to leave the premises. Yom Kippur is a day where we see our Jewish community attending their places of worship, places where they and their families should feel entirely safe from harm. I want to share my gratitude to all of those members of the public who called the police as soon as they saw what was happening. This allowed the quick response from our officers, who were able to act swiftly and bravely to bring this horrendous attack to an end. I also want to thank our partners from the other emergency services, local authorities, and the health service, who have provided their ongoing support to us throughout the day and will continue so to do over the coming days. I know that today's horrific events will have a significant impact on all of our communities, not only in Greater Manchester, but across our country. There will be lots of questions that people would like answers to, and quickly. But please understand that some of this will take time. What I can say is that the highly visible response to these dreadful incidents will be sustained as we work to understand the full circumstances of what has happened. I know that you will all join me in keeping those directly affected by what has happened in our thoughts and prayers. There are grieving families and communities at the heart of this in Greater Manchester and beyond. I would therefore ask that people
That was the Greater Manchester Police giving a press conference after the devastating attack on the synagogue. I want to bring in our Claire Sebastian, who was listening to the Chief Constable, Sir Stephen Watson there. That press conference going on for quite a while. Claire, what more did we learn?
Yeah, so we got an update, Christina, on the number of injured. The Chief Constable saying that 4 people are in hospital. Previously, we'd been told that 3 were in a serious condition. Obviously, we now know, of course, that 2 members of the Jewish community died in this attack. He added a little bit more colour to the understanding of how events unfolded. He said there was a car that was driven into people standing outside the synagogue. Then the driver got out and started attacking people with a knife. And he said, crucially, that he was wearing a vest that had the appearance of an explosive device. We were told earlier by Greater Manchester Police that a bomb disposal unit was on the scene, and they couldn't confirm initially that the suspect had died because of concerns about suspicious objects on his person. So that adds a little bit more colour there. And what he was about to say, as your feed cut out, was an appeal to people to refrain from posting disturbing online content, to take it directly to police. I think what you get the sense now is that the police are really trying to control the flow of information here. And in that vein, this was the second of 2 briefings that we've had in the last hour. The first, and this should tell you something about how seriously they're treating this, came from the head of counter-terrorism policing in London, so the National Authority on Counter-Terrorism Policing. And have a listen to some of the updates that he brought.
The attacker has been shot dead by the police. We believe we know their identity, but for safety reasons at the scene, we're unable to confirm at this stage. 3 other members of the public are in a serious condition. We have also made 2 further arrests. And based on what we know, counter-terrorism policing has declared this as a terrorist incident.
So they say that they know the identity of the suspect but cannot release it yet. Again, I think out of caution around the safety issues of approaching the body of this suspect. So that is where we are right now. They're trying to control the flow of information. But overall, this has already had major ripple effects. The Prime Minister has cut short his trip to Denmark, is chairing a COBRA meeting, an emergency meeting of cabinet ministers and other agencies this afternoon. Policing is being stepped up. Security is being stepped up at synagogues and Jewish sites around the country. They were already on high alert, as we've seen an uptick in anti-Semitic incidents, but I think this on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, really does see their worst fears being realised. Christina?
Yeah, and Claire, we saw the Prime Minister arriving back in Downing Street a short while ago to chair that COBRA meeting, as you say, underlining the seriousness now with which the UK government are taking that. What is the significance of a COBRA meeting being called, and what could we expect to come from that?
So a COBRA meeting is essentially where you bring together the various agencies involved. It usually involves cabinet ministers. In this case, it may involve regional leaders from Manchester as well, security officials, anyone who can contribute to coordinating the response to this, I think, we've already had a sense, certainly from Keir Starmer and others talking about this, that this will lead to an uptick in security around Jewish sites, and perhaps more in terms of how they're going to coordinate that. And the investigation, which appears to now be being led by counter-terrorism policing at Scotland Yard. But I think critically they are trying to get out in front of this, trying to prevent the flow of information from getting out of control. And I think we certainly see that from how quickly the Prime Minister responded to this and how quickly we've seen the police come out and talk specifically about what they know at this point, and urging the public to go directly to the police with any information. Christina?
Continue our coverage of the breaking news out of Manchester, England. Police say that 2 people have died after a man rammed his car into a crowd of people at a synagogue. The attacker began stabbing people before officers shot and killed him. The attack happened on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. Well, security has been increased at synagogues across the UK. An organisation called the Community Security Trust reports that 2023 and 2024 were record years for episodes of anti-Semitic incidents. London's mayor said he is taking extra steps to make the Jewish community feel safe.
I want to reassure them that in London they will be seeing additional police officers. People should be allowed to go about and practice their faith, knowing they're going to be safe. Unfortunately, too many Jewish Londoners, Jewish people across the country, Jewish people across the globe don't feel that way, and that's heartbreaking.
Nick Robertson joins us now from Manchester. And Nick, I know you've been on the ground now for a couple of hours, where I'm sure there is still a great deal of shock over what has happened there. Just tell us what you're seeing.
There is, and in part, as details emerge from the police now describing this as a terror incident, that they say the attacker appeared to have or be wearing some kind of explosives, and for safety reasons that has meant getting more details about him following his shooting because he didn't comply with police instructions. It has meant it takes more time to get that sort of information, more information about him. But people here are outraged, they're angry, they're afraid. People here are still trying to figure out precisely what has happened. Of course, Yom Kippur, this is an Orthodox area, that one of the holiest days of the year. People would not, many in this community would not be using their phones. We spoke to a lady earlier who'd literally walked quite some distance to get to other members of her family to tell them that she was okay, because the synagogue that was the focus of the attack today was where she would normally go with her children. So people are, as you say, just coming to terms with it, but a lot of fear in the community here, as this witness tells us.
Today is Yom Kippur. It's a very holy festival, and I'm Jewish and absolutely terrified. And our neighbour across the road, he goes to the synagogue, and he was telling us what was going on. And it's just absolutely frightening, because I'm scared for my own safety and my mum's safety, because I just feel that the Jewish, we're not pulling together anymore. I just feel there was so many people down that road taking pictures, and they're happy to be on camera, but they don't realise the impact it's putting on the Jewish community now.
Yeah, one gentleman I spoke to here with his sons told me that, he's been worried that this sort of attack could happen. They even talk in his family about, should they move to Israel? Is it really safe for them around here? But the fears of the community realized today, but it could have been.
Vistaprint prints everything to get your brand in front of your fans, like t-shirts, water bottles, and totes, so everyone can gift it, work in it, and take it. Whether it's one of a kind or one for your whole team, if you need it, we print it with 20% off for new customers at Vistaprint.com.
That the police chief said was crowded with worshippers. So the quick reporting by the public, he said, the selfless acts of bravery by the security personnel outside the synagogue, and the acts of the public in there as well, that helped prevent this being a, 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 a,
Nick Robertson tracking developments there in Manchester. Appreciate it, Nick. Thanks for now. Well, let's take a look at the security angle of the story. We're joined by security specialist Will Geddes, the Managing Director, International Corporate Protection. Will, thank you for being with us. We were hearing there just from Nick just how much worse this incident could have been had the police not responded so quickly in the way they did. And they have now declared this as a terror incident. The counter-terror police have declared this. And 2 other people, we understand, have been arrested. So anti-terror police will now be leading this investigation, I imagine. What will be their chief concern right now?
Well, I think that the greatest concern right now is inevitably who else is connected to this individual. And as you mentioned, obviously 2 other people at a property only about a 5-minute walk from where the synagogue is have actually been arrested. But one of the things that the police called very, very quickly and very early on when this incident was occurring was that it was a code Plato, which basically means a marauding terrorist attack. Now, Yom Kippur is obviously a very important day for the Jewish community. And many of us within the security industry were on tenterhooks that something might happen today, particularly because there's been a spike of anti-Semitism here in the United Kingdom. And the Jewish community are inevitably feeling extremely vulnerable.
And we heard from the Greater Manchester Police in that press conference earlier that the attacker appeared to be wearing an explosive vest. And we also heard a short while ago that police carried out a controlled explosion on the suspect's car. What does any of that tell you about the attacker here? And without wanting to get into the realms of speculation, the likelihood that he was acting alone?
Well, I mean, certainly he was on his own. There's only one person that was actually apprehended at the scene of the incident and was responsible for obviously harming and killing, obviously, innocent members of the general public who were there connected in either a security capacity or a worshipping capacity at the synagogue. In terms of obviously the IED belt or devices that seem to be attached to him, again, until the police actually tell us more detail and confirm whether they were actually viable devices or whether they were inert, it wouldn't be a massive surprise if they were an inert device, because we've seen that before on the London Bridge terrorist attack a number of years back, where the perpetrators of that attack were wearing fake bomb belts to try and deter members of the general public and even possibly the authorities from responding. But again, since that time, the police have had considerable amounts of training, obviously, in how to deal with those situations.
And the Prime Minister has said now that there will be additional security around the country, outside synagogues nationwide, which of course is going to be especially necessary.
This just seemed like a setup to me. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Hey, everybody that came in. I see we have 63 votes, but only 29 likes. I need to get the likes up. It's 545 people in, getting updated. Please double tap the face of your phone if you're on your phone. And if you're on your device, please, pretty please, with cherry on top, please hit the 3 dots at the top of the comment portion of your laptop or your tablet, or just hit the thumbs up button. However you get there, we would greatly appreciate it. Okay. Give me about 10 minutes, then I'll go to where the press conference was. Once I get the likes up, I need 60 likes real quick.
Potentially an attack taking place. But our police forces are incredibly stretched as they are, but at least this is a gesture of support to the Jewish community.
And police have said again.
This
has a feel to me of the meeting. Let me pause right quick. Of the meeting of the other day with Trump and Bibi, Nathan, what is it? Yuhi? Yeah, I'm always mess it up. Yeah, I mean, and soon as that meeting was over, he went to talking in his language, saying that there's no peace. He's not gonna stop a war. I think last night, way in the midnight hour, there was an attack on a boat that was headed to Gaza with aid. I tried to stay awake and I was just going to let it play. But the itis caught me, and before I could just hit the button and just let it play, I fell asleep. But yeah, there was a boat for aid to Gaza that was captured by Israel, of course. So everything, whatever that meeting was about the other day, I know everything right now is to stop the focus of the Epstein file. I don't care what country, what state, everything is to stop the Epstein file, period. So to me, everything around it is staged. It's just all of a sudden 2 or 3 situations happen a week. Everything wrapped around the policy of Trump in Israel. Everything. So last week, or early, what is today? Thursday. Over the weekend, it was Portland. Now it's England. I mean, we just have to stay woke. But none of it is biblical. I mean, they may position it like that so that we could look at it like this is, oh, this is in the Bible about Israel. And all right. No. No. It's still about human trafficking and money in the States with Trump. Okay, let's go. Get the likes up, please. I need 55 likes.
Purposes, police are treating this as a terror incident.
And I want to be clear, UK policing is mobilising, and it's mobilising fast. Police forces are stepping up patrols across the country, at synagogues and Jewish sites, and more widely to provide reassurance to all those communities.
Hold on, let me go to a different location.
At Counter-Terrorism Police, we're deploying all of our capabilities in response to what has happened.
Well, the British Prime Minister has called an emergency meeting and says security at British synagogues will be increased.
We got to stay woke. The shutdown, I just saw we had trillions of dollars missing. It's just all of a sudden. I'm telling you, they are planning a heist. They're gonna get away, and then when it's all over and all the dust settles, all the money gonna be gone. You understand? We have to stay woke. That's this one. Let's see what this is saying. I'm trying to get to that press conference. This is one of them.
This is the story
Bear
of the
with
one
me.
who knows that being ready for the unexpected comes from having a partner like.
Also sharing an update with us on this attack that we now know has been labeled as an act of terrorism. And I did want to play out just the brief update from police for you right now.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First and foremost, my thoughts and those of my officers and staff are with the families of the loved ones who have been affected by today's horrific incident on what is the Jewish community's holiest day, Yom Kippur. This attack has been officially declared as a terrorist incident, and the investigation is now being led by counter-terrorist police. As has been confirmed by CT policing, we believe that the identity of the offender has been established, but until we are certain of
He's
this
going
fact,
to have left a letter.
it is premature to set out this detail at this juncture. In addition, I can confirm that 2 other individuals have been arrested in connection with this incident, and urgent inquiries are ongoing. we can confirm that 2 members of our Jewish community have sadly died as a result of this attack. Following a rapid response, armed officers from Greater Manchester Police intercepted the offender, and he was fatally shot by officers within 7 minutes of the original call. 4 further people remain in hospital, having suffered a variety of serious injuries, and their treatment is ongoing, and our thoughts are with them and their families. Inquiries are moving at pace, and very visible and proactive policing activity is ongoing across Greater Manchester and beyond. Updates will be provided as soon as is practicable. Our priority is to keep the public safe. At this time, we know that a car was driven directly at members of the public outside the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue on Middleton Road, Crumpsall, in Manchester. The driver of the car was seen then to attack people with a knife. He was wearing about his body a vest which had the appearance of an explosive device. There were a large number of worshippers attending the synagogue at the time of this attack, but thanks to the immediate bravery of security staff and the worshippers inside, as well as the fast response of the police, the attacker was prevented from gaining access. All those inside were safely contained until police were able to confirm that it was safe to leave the premises. Yom Kippur is a day where we see our Jewish community attending their places of worship, places where they and their families should feel entirely safe from harm. I want to share my gratitude to all of those members of the public who called the police as soon as they saw what was happening. This allowed the quick response from our officers, who were able to act swiftly and bravely to bring this horrendous attack to an end. I also want to thank our partners from the other emergency services, local authorities, and the health service, who have provided their ongoing support to us throughout the day and will continue so to do over the coming days. I know that today's horrific events will have a significant impact on all of our communities, not only in Greater Manchester, but across our country. There will be lots of questions that people would like answers to, and quickly. But please understand that some of this will take time. What I can say is that the highly visible response to these dreadful incidents will be sustained as we work to understand the full circumstances of what has happened. I know that you will all join me in keeping those directly affected by what has happened in our thoughts and prayers. There are grieving families and communities at the heart of this in Greater Manchester and beyond. I would therefore ask that people refrain from sharing disturbing and insensitive content online. If you have information, then share it with the police. We stand with all of those affected and will continue to do everything in our power to keep our communities safe. Thank you.
Why Korean women and mums never diet, yet still weigh 106 pounds at 50 without any...
Hold on, I have another one. Bear with me. Protest. Oh my, this just, I don't know what we expected though. Bear with us. Yeah, please hit the like button. 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 Hit the like button. Okay, let's see what this one says. Let's go.
People with injuries caused by both vehicle and stab. In today's attack outside a synagogue in North Manchester that has left 2 victims dead and 3 seriously injured. Just outside the fence, one of them, a security guard, lies with stab wounds. This image from the scene, which has been widely circulated, appears to show the suspect. He is now believed to be deceased. Officers said his condition cannot be confirmed due to safety issues surrounding suspicious items on his person. The morning.
So Mike, you know, I was going to wait. So you want to go ahead and retract your own message because what your message says is not true. You see how you came in? You didn't even speak. You came in on racist, biased, fake news. So we know what side you're from because you like spreading fakeness. Don't remove it, Janet. Let's see if he has integrity, Mike Anderson, and remove your own comment. Y'all hit the like button for me, please. Hey, Justin, download Orange Man. Always be on some real, yeah. This sounds like some Trump and BB Israel stuff. Mike, y'all stay by the Mike Anderson. I see he don't have integrity. He just likes spreading lies. Bye, Mike Anderson, you liar, pants on fire. Yeah, let's go.
He's got a bob on. Police warned passers-by to get back before shooting down the suspect behind today's attack outside a synagogue in North Manchester that has left 2 victims dead and 3 seriously injured. Just outside the fence, one of them, a security guard, lies with stab wounds. This image from the scene, which has been widely circulated, appears to show the suspect. He is now believed to be deceased. Officers said his condition cannot be confirmed due to safety issues surrounding suspicious items on his person. The morning's events unfolded in Crumpsall in North Manchester. At 9:31, Greater Manchester Police were called to the synagogue by a member of the public who said he'd seen a car being driven into people and that one man had been stabbed. The police were dispatched straight away.
Happened in Portland.
And at 9:38, firearms officers shot the man.
But he set it afire. He set the church on fire.
He is thought to be dead. Paramedics arrived at 9:41 to treat multiple people with injuries caused by both vehicle and stab wounds. 2 of them have now been confirmed dead. Moments after the attack, the police declared Plato, the national code word used by emergency services when responding to terror attacks. A COBRA meeting will take place later today.
The attack in Manchester this morning is absolutely shocking, and all of our thoughts are with those affected. I'm on my way back to London. When I arrive, I will chair an emergency COBRA meeting. I'm already able to say that additional police assets are being deployed to synagogues across the country, and we will do everything to keep our Jewish community safe.
Eyewitnesses described their shock that a synagogue had been the target.
We're quite a cultured community. There's, you know, my neighbour's Muslim, my other neighbour's Sikh, my neighbour after that's Jewish, my neighbour after that is Christian.
It's horrific. I mean, at this point, too much hatred against
Too much hatred.
I mean, everywhere you go, there's hatred.
Bottom line.
The attack coincides with Yom Kippur.
Let that be the reason why we come together. They are banking that the hatred will cause a chaos and for us to come against each other. That is the only way that we're going to be able to defeat the enemy is come together in love. It was good to hear her say that there was Christians there as well. And the concern, the empathy, and the love, it don't matter. At this point, it doesn't matter. The attack is on all of us. We have to let the love bring us together and defeat the enemy. This is the bottom line. I just don't know how else to say it. They want us to hate one another. No.
Cultured community. There's, you know, my neighbour's Muslim, my other neighbour's Sikh, my neighbour after that's Jewish, my neighbour after that is Christian.
It's horrific. I mean, at this point, too much hatred against Jewish people. I mean, everywhere you go, there's hatred.
The attack coincides with Yom Kippur, one of the holiest days in the Jewish calendar, and a time when synagogues like this are particularly busy. Neighbouring MP Christian Wakeford has worshipped at the synagogue himself.
The rabbi is a friend of mine. It's one of those where I just thoughts and prayers for all those who've, you know, already suffered in the attack. I think we're all waiting for answers.
In a statement, the King said, "My wife and I have been deeply shocked and saddened to learn of the horrific attack in Manchester, especially on such a significant day for the Jewish community. Our thoughts and prayers are with all those affected by this appalling incident, and we greatly appreciate the swift actions of the emergency services." Those actions are still ongoing. A bomb disposal unit is on the scene, and police are deploying additional resources to synagogues around the country. Jaranpreet Khera, ITV News.
Well, when we came on air,
Eric, you don't even know your own lineage.
Hospitals across Greater Manchester are now in lockdown.
Kevin, I mean.
Since the attack, with people being urged to stay away from A&E.
You don't even know where you're from.
Is life-threatening. Let's take you live to the scene of the attack itself and join our North of England reporter Jonathan Brown. Jonathan, can you describe what's happening there, first of all, this lunchtime, of course, and also the wider impact on the area?
Well, as you can probably tell, there is a huge police presence in this part of northern Manchester around this synagogue. I'm stood a few hundred yards from where this incident happened, and this is about as close as we can get. That's because this is very much an ongoing and early part of this investigation. If you look behind me, you should be able to see past the photographers that there are dozens of fire engines and unmarked police cars as the emergency services examine what's become the scene of an atrocity. We've seen riot vans, bomb disposal units and fire engines coming in and out of this cordon over a couple of hours now, and you might also be able to hear that there's a police helicopter hovering overhead. We've also been told on the ground here that many houses in this area have been evacuated, as have some places of worship. We've also been told, as you've said, that in the last few minutes a number of hospitals locally have been locked down, people only urged to go in emergency circumstances to A&E. Meanwhile, this normally busy route into Manchester is closed to traffic and probably will be for the foreseeable future.
Jonathan, you describe it as a scene of an atrocity, also a scene of shock and fear, no doubt. We heard from some of the people who live nearby who heard what happened this morning.
My sound was too quiet, even at 100%.
Please hit
then I found
the
extra
like
sound.
button.
It boosts volume up to 600%, and yes.
Absolutely. As we've heard, this incident happened on Yom Kippur. That's the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. On top of that, we're in an area that's known for its
So it was targeted for today. It was targeted for today.
Of synagogues in this part of Manchester. That's been evident from some of the crowds surrounding this cordon. For example, many wearing religious dress. We've also got everyone from children to older, elderly people here. Some have even brought chairs from their homes out onto the street so they can get a closer look as to what's happening on this cordon. Now, we've also spoken to some people, as you say, worried about the safety of their loved ones. That's partly made more difficult by the fact that during Yom Kippur, people normally abstain from using technology, but there are of course fears as to whether this is an isolated attack or not. That's why the Prime Minister has said that extra police assets will be deployed at synagogues. In the meantime, people here are just hoping that no more lives are lost.
Absolutely. Jonathan, for now at the scene there, thank you very much. Let's get more on the response then from the Prime Minister and the government this morning. As we said a little earlier, Sir Keir Starmer flew back from that meeting in Copenhagen to chair an emergency meeting in Downing Street. Our political correspondent Shihab Khan is there for us this lunchtime. What more can you tell us at this stage, Shihab?
At this exact moment, what we know is that that emergency COBRA meeting will be taking place later this afternoon. That will bring together emergency services personnel, the most senior members of staff within a number of government departments, to liaise and discuss about what is the best way to deal with this. Those meetings are often chaired by different cabinet ministers. Today it will be chaired by the Prime Minister, who, Nina, as you say, has cut his trip to Denmark short. He was there meeting with European leaders. The idea was to discuss different types of policy, including immigration. Instead, he's cut that meeting short because of this incident. We've also heard from the Prime Minister in which, as was already mentioned in Charanpreet's report, that additional police assets have been deployed. He's also already spoken with the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, and with senior Jewish community leaders. We've also heard, away from the Prime Minister, from other political leaders in the last few hours or so. The Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch, Nigel Farage, the Leader of Reform UK, and Ed Davey have all posted on social media condemning the attack. There's something that unites all the political leaders here in Westminster today, is that everyone is condemning what we've seen so far. For the Prime Minister, who is now currently en route, as someone who's travelled with the Prime Minister at a time of major international incidents, I can tell you with pretty good confidence that he will probably be being briefed on that flight so that he's ready as soon as he lands to get here into Downing Street to hold that meeting to discuss the best way to deal with this. And as we saw previously when there was the Southport attack, for example, the Prime Minister tends to be very strong when it comes to communities being attacked. We know this is something that is personal to him. His wife is from a Jewish background, so we'll have to wait and see exactly what comes out of that meeting. But at the moment, the message from the Prime Minister has been very clear. He condemns this attack.
Shihab Khan, thank you very much. Thank you. We've seen a rise in attacks
Double tap the face of your phone, please.
Communities in recent months and years. We don't yet know why a synagogue was targeted, but it's clearly an horrific attack, and it will send a shockwave throughout the country. Our correspondent John Ray is with me. This only happened 4 hours ago, so in terms of the investigation, really early days.
Yeah.
But what's the latest you've got?
We have a whole load of questions and not many answers yet, Nina, to be totally honest with you. The police will want straight away, once they've assured that the situation is under control, which apparently it is. This was an incident over in 7 minutes. The first thing they need to know is the identity of the suspect. That itself might be complicated because of fears that he has an explosive device strapped to his body. Bomb disposal experts are there. And then the next big question is, once they have the identity, was this man on some kind of MI5 watch list? Is he an individual radicalized, or is this part of a wider plot? Are there any links with wider terrorist organizations, non-state and state actors? As I say, we've got to be very, very careful. We don't at the moment know this man's identity, and we don't know his motivation at all. But those are the steps that the police will want to very rapidly go through in the coming hours.
Absolutely. While we wait for some of those answers, we must discuss really the context and the timings. This came on Yom Kippur, when lots of Jewish people throughout the country will be in synagogues, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar.
Now, I don't remember, somebody in the comments can correct me, I don't remember, like the shutdowns is twice under one president. It was a shutdown, the last shutdown, government shutdown was Trump, his first term, and now we have another one. Each time the U.S. was left trillions in debt. He's already made billions, and they have money already missing. So there's a pattern there. And then I don't ever recall this much terrorism in state and out of the country at one time. Ever. Other than Trump. I mean, you know, the left and the right and the middle and all that, liberal and conservative and all of that foolishness right now, because people are losing their lives. I just don't remember it being like this. Either side, either way, other than Trump. And I mean, not me, can continue to play a blind, deaf, and dumb if you want to. And even if you think you're a part of the clique, you're not. You're not. It's just being used. But I want us to stay woke and be honest with the reality, the truth. You cannot say that this happened under Biden term or Barack's. But there's a common denominator, whether you want to believe it or not, and it is Trump. I can't even say it's a Republican. This is MAGA, making America great again, because it seemed like that in itself is a divide. Only person that he will listen to somewhat and believe that he is his friend is Bibi. Israel first. I think this is what that meeting was about. Just like I think they're the ones who took out Charlie Kirk. Yes, I'm going to say it. Stay woke.
And also,
in my opinion,
coming up to the second anniversary of those October the 7th attacks on Israel.
Yeah, neither of those things are a coincidence. As you say, synagogues up and down the land are very busy today, the most solemn, sacred day.
Didn't happen under Biden.
Toxicity into community relations. A little earlier, an hour or so ago, we had a statement from the Israeli embassy in the UK giving their reaction to an attack, which of course they condemned. They said that such an act of violence should be perpetrated on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar in a place of prayer and community is abhorrent and deeply distressing. And they added that the thoughts and prayers of the people of Israel are with the victims, their families, and the entire Jewish community. They said that such an act of violence should be perpetrated on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar in a place of prayer and community is abhorrent and deeply distressing. And they added that the thoughts and prayers of the people of Israel are with the victims, their families, and the entire Jewish community at this difficult time. They've also called on the UK government to ensure the safety and security of all Jewish communities in the UK. We know that this is coming at a time where relationships between the two governments are fractured over the issue of the recognition of the state of Palestine. I have to also say that this has been roundly condemned by Islamic organisation in this country. The British Muslim Trust said this is a despicable and cowardly and abhorrent act, and that Muslims in this country stand with Britain's Jewish community.
Let's take you back to our story developing this lunchtime. A suspected terror attack in Manchester. 2 people have been killed in an attack outside a synagogue in Manchester this morning. It happened on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur. Within a few minutes, armed officers were on the scene and shot the suspect, who is believed to have died. 3 people are in a serious condition in hospital. A woman who heard what happened described her fear.
Honestly, I'm frightened. I'm really scared, because the biggest worry is we're already being quite divided, and for someone that, you know, we build off our culture. Our different cultures make us stronger together, right? And that's how we can build together. And it's really frightening to watch everything just fall apart.
If you're a homeowner with 0 claims in the last 5 years, listen carefully.
The Prime Minister has flown back from a summit in Denmark to chair an emergency COBRA meeting this afternoon. Let's take you back to the scene now and join our North of England reporter Jonathan Brown. Jonathan, just a few hours after the attack happened, people are just hearing about it and others are processing what they've seen and what has happened.
Absolutely, people are just standing and waiting for news here at the moment. There have been prayers that the remaining injured here survive this attack. This after news that 2 members of the public have died and another person believed to be the attacker is also presumed dead. Greater Manchester Police said they were called to reports that a car had been driven towards a member of the public and 1 person had been stabbed outside the the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue at 9:31 this morning. 7 minutes later, armed police shot the suspect. Now, police say they can't verify the attacker's death due to what they describe as suspicious items on his person. That's why we've seen bomb disposal teams here today. This, as we said, was an attack outside a synagogue in an area that's known for its strong Jewish community. There are dozens of synagogues in this part of Manchester, but there's also an area known for its tolerance. There's a strong Muslim community too here that people here say lives peacefully alongside the Jewish community. That's why this attack has left people in such disbelief. In the meantime, we're expecting more information from the police in the coming hours.
Jonathan Brown, thank you. John, we need that tolerance and talk of that tolerance, don't we? This is an attack which could lead to more fear in an already divided society.
Okay, hit the like button so that we can go to
9:31 this morning. The alarm was raised 9:38 this morning. The police.
Yeah, I need 25 likes, please. Double tap the face of your screen. Or I will be forced to shut it down if I can't get the likes where it needs to be. Come on.
Synagogue, and a man had been stabbed. At 9:34, firearms officers were deployed as they received further reports from the public that a security guard had been attacked.
Yeah, I got my alarm going off in there. I had gave myself a certain amount of time to get the likes right. So double tap the face of your phone if you're on your phone listening. Thank you. Please just double tap it. And then if you're on your computer or tablet, there's 3 dots at the top right. Hit those dots. It should take you to the like. Just hit the thumbs up, or you may be able to see it on the face of your your computer. Just give some likes up. I need 25, please, so that I could keep going. I will be motivated to keep going.
At 9:31 a.m., a member of the public called police saying a car had hit someone at the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue and a man had been stabbed. At 9:34, firearms officers were deployed as they received further reports from the public that a security guard had been attacked with a knife. By 9:37, the scene of the attack was declared a major incident with terrorism a possible motive. And by 9:38, shots were fired by firearms officers at the suspect. He died at the scene, which was then cleared by bomb disposal experts. Our North of England correspondent Claire Fallon has been following the story throughout the day. Claire.
But Jackie, you used the words utter devastation, and on an evening when I think many people will be really struggling to find the words for what happened here earlier today, that does very much tally with the just appalling accounts that I've been hearing from people during the course of the day, the images that we've been seeing of the aftermath. This was clearly an extraordinarily violent attack. A car being used as a weapon, then people being stabbed, and also then I've been hearing these accounts of how the attacker tried to get
to the families.
The synagogue, as well as hearing, you know, those really deeply disturbing details. There are also details of real bravery here today as people tried to barricade themselves inside and protect the children who were in there. Andy Burnham today has described it as an exemplary blue light response in reference to the speeds that you were talking about. And I should say that my film this evening does start with some images that may well be upsetting. Outside a synagogue in North Manchester this morning.
Everybody else, get back! If you're not involved, move back!
The man on the ground with police guns aimed at him seems to be holding something.
He's got a bomb on him! He's got a bomb on him!
A few minutes earlier, a car had been rammed into people before the driver got out and started stabbing them.
No, he's got a bomb! Get the up! He's trying to press the button.
Now he's down, but when he starts to get up, an armed officer shoots him.
Oh.
This image from moments earlier shows the man outside the synagogue. Police have since confirmed they're treating what happened as a terror attack. An attack in which we now know 2 of the victims were fatally injured. Another 4 people are in hospital with serious injuries.
This terrorist grabbed the
15 likes, please.
gates, got to the front door, and was absolutely banging on it. He had a knife, and he was behind the line. Sorry.
Early morning I heard loud bangs and then plenty of sirens. As things like the police wouldn't even allow us out the flat. And then later knocked on the doors and just said, you gotta get out.
That the attack happened today on Yom Kippur, the most holy of days for the Jewish faith, is surely no coincidence. It meant the Heaton Park Synagogue was busy with many people praying inside, including young children. They were later led away by police as the exclusion zone was widened and bomb disposal teams went in. Only after a controlled explosion were they able to confirm that the suspect was dead and that what appeared to be a suicide vest was not a viable explosive device.
This attack has been officially declared as a terrorist incident, and the investigation is now being led by counter-terrorist police. As has been confirmed by CT policing, we believe that the identity of the offender has been established, but until we are certain of this fact, it is premature to set out this detail at this juncture. In addition, I can confirm that 2 other individuals have been arrested in connection with this incident, and urgent inquiries are ongoing.
This street is about 500 metres away from the synagogue, and just towards the end of this cul-de-sac, there's a house with a lot of police coming and going from it. There's armed officers outside it. We think that a house down there is being searched at the moment. The response to today's attack will be as much about politics as policing. And with the Prime Minister flying back early from a meeting of European leaders in Copenhagen, this afternoon he attended a Cobra meeting at Downing Street.
And while this is not a new hate, this is something Jews have always lived. We must be clear. It is a hatred that is rising once again. And Britain must defeat it once again. On behalf of the nation, I want to offer my condolences to the families and victims affected.
After these events, and given the global context, police patrols are being stepped up across the country. While here, in an area of North Manchester with the biggest Jewish community of anywhere in the UK outside London, even with extra security and messages of reassurance, it seems for some, the place that's been home may not be for much longer.
And I believe that this is something that will change our lives forever, that's for sure. You know, whether it's myself, my children, we will not be around for long in this country.
What do you mean by that?
I think we'll all be emigrating. I think there's no place for us.
What comes next, how people respond, will be of crucial importance.
Well, Dame Louise Ellman is Vice President of the Jewish Leadership Council and was an MP in Liverpool for 22 years. She resigned from the Labour Party during the rows over anti-Semitism under Jeremy Corbyn, but later rejoined, and she joins me now. Thanks so much for joining us this evening. You attended this synagogue as a child. You were married there. As events unfolded today, what was going through your mind?
Well, I'm horrified at what's happened, something that many of us in the Jewish community feared might happen because of the rising levels of anti-Semitism and hate speech, almost normalised. But it's also very personal. This is the area I was brought up in. I attended Heaton Park Synagogue as a child, and I was married there. So it's very personal as well, a very difficult day and a dreadful time for all of us.
And on this day in particular, I mean, a horrific attack whenever it might have happened, but today for Jewish people, added poignancy.
Yes, I mean, today, Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. So again, it was killing Jews at prayer, Jews in the synagogue, a horrendous situation. Probably the product of the hate speech that so many of us have experienced, but a terrible day and a terrible happening.
I mean, you touch on a point that I've heard again and again today, that many Jewish people felt there was an inevitability about an attack like this.
There's been a growing fear in the community over many months now about the possibility of an attack like this. The hatred shown towards Jewish people has almost been normalised, and people hearing hate speech on the streets, children worried in schools, students at universities, and even people going to hospitals worried about things they hear and badges that members of our NHS were wearing until very recently. So there's been a build-up of fear and of concern, but of course no one really expects something to happen, particularly in their own area.
So as you say, this is in your area, it is very close to home, but the response to this will spread throughout the Jewish community in this country, won't it?
Yes, this is what's been feared for a long time. And a lot of Jewish people are upset, but they're also angry. And we're also saying that, well, people now take notice of the growing development of hatred towards Jewish people that so many of us have heard and have experienced.
I mean, obviously the last 2 years have been difficult for many people on both sides of the war in Gaza. What can be done to better protect the Jewish community and an understanding that people have different views, but that debate has to be done safely for everyone?
Well, the war in Gaza is a truly dreadful war. Many innocent people are being killed, and it started by terrorists murdering over 1,000 Israelis in their homes. But we all want that war to end. But whatever your views on that, it cannot be a reason or any possible justification for murdering Jews in their house of worship. It's appalling. And we need to think about what's happening here in this country. We don't want hate normalised. Clearly, security needs to be increased even more than it is. But we need to look at what people are saying, ask people to think about what they're doing, and look about the difference between freedom of speech and the freedom to develop hatred towards individuals.
And that is absolutely a talking point at the moment on many issues, not just the Gaza conflict. Who should lead on this, though? Because that issue of language has been laid at the doors of various politicians recently, of all politicians.
Well, the government have to look at what's happening.
Right there, we talking about Gaza, we talking about freedom of speech. There is the connect right there, right? I mean, ain't that kind of what I was saying? Yeah.
Through the police and through the security services, just what is going on.
Yeah, that go. Neta, what's his name? Yeah, Nahui. I'm not playing you with you and Trump.
Through the security services, just
that's the only one he respects.
A talking point at the moment on many issues, not just the Gaza conflict.
Justification for murdering Jews in their house of worship. It's appalling. And we need to think about what's happening here in this country. We don't want hate normalised. Clearly, security needs to be increased.
We don't want hate normalised. I agree.
But we need to look at what people are saying, ask people to think about what they're doing, and look about the difference between freedom of speech and the freedom to develop hatred towards individuals.
And that is absolutely a talking point at the moment on many issues, not just the Gaza conflict. Who should lead on this, though? Because that issue of language has been laid at the doors of various politicians recently, of all politicians.
Well, the government have to look at what's happening and look through the police and through the security services, just what is going on and what should be stopped. And of course, it has to be looked at everywhere. What's happening in our hospitals, in the National Health Service. Wes Streeting, the Secretary of State for Health, very recently said he had no confidence in the way the health service was dealing with hate crimes, specifically with anti-Semitism. So it's about people who are in charge of our institutions as well. And the Jewish community itself just wants to be heard, not just heard, but its fears acted on.
But it is exactly as you say for many people, and it's a difficult argument on a terrible day, that how do you protect people's right to protest? How do you protect people's right on both sides of the argument to engage in debate at the same time as making sure, absolutely making sure the Jewish community is protected?
We have to listen.
We have to listen. Well, that's not dictatorship. You got to listen. Yeah.
To people when they say they are concerned, and the Jewish community for many months now has been saying they're very concerned about what we regard as hate speech, affecting how people think about Jewish people, affecting the security and the confidence of Jewish people and Britain's loyal Jewish community.
And just briefly, but specifically, how is that done? At the same time, we know we've also seen a rise in Islamophobia. This is a very multicultural, multi-faith area. That issue of hate, it impacts many people, doesn't it? So what specifically can the government do?
The government can look at the laws to see if we do have laws against hate, but are they always enforced? We need to look at how policing is conducted. Freedom of speech, yes, but when does a boundary come
But it's not freedom to kill. Freedom of speech, hold on, freedom of speech is not freedom to kill. Freedom of speech is not freedom to kill. Okay? It's not freedom to kill. But freedom of speech is not freedom to attack either. It's just to freedom of speech is respect. I don't have to agree with you. I don't even have to insult you. Freedom of speech does not have to be insulting. That's a character flaw if that's the only way you can get a point across. And if you have to insult, you did not get your point across. Yeah, freedom of speech is not a right to kill. Period.
Look about education and about people understanding in our schools what hatred is, what racism is, what anti-Jewish racism is. We don't want hate for anybody, and it's about education, it's about the government, and about security forces, and about people being responsible citizens.
Dame Louise Ellman, thanks very much for talking to us this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, in response to the attack, politicians have been calling for patience and restraint while investigations continue. In the last half an hour, the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has thanked the emergency services here in Manchester for their work and said her prayers were with the victims.
We will do whatever is required to keep our Jewish community safe. I know that there are many questions that are still to be answered, and rest assured they will be answered as quickly as possible. It will just take a little time for us to establish exactly what has happened here, but we will share more information as soon as we are able to. What I do want to say is to those who seek to divide us, they will fail.
Tonight, our first thoughts are with the families of those people who died, those injured, and those traumatized by this and horrific anti-Semitic attack on our Jewish friends and neighbors. We condemn it outright. We will never let acts that are designed to cause hatred, division in our communities, violence, we will never let them succeed. And that's our message tonight to everybody across Greater Manchester. Do not let them succeed. Respond by reaching out, by redoubling efforts to work together and stand together in these
totally agree.
Well, so Keir Starmer cut short
totally
his
agree.
attendance at a meeting
We have
of
something in
European
common.
leaders
See
Denmark
there?
to discuss Russia's drone incursions into NATO airspace. He rushed back to London to chair a COBRA meeting after the Manchester attack. Let's go now to our correspondent Amelia Jen in Westminster. Amelia.
Well, as you say, he rushed back from Copenhagen, arriving at Downing Street just before 4 and chairing an hour-long COBRA meeting there. He was joined by the Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy, by the Metropolitan Police Commissioner SYNAG0GUE, and also the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, who joined remotely from Manchester. She'd been visiting police there to get an operational update. But even before he boarded the plane in Denmark, he announced that there would be further police deployed to synagogues across the country. He said the government would do everything in its power to keep the Jewish community safe. And following that Cobra meeting, he made another direct appeal to Jewish communities, saying this country would wrap its arms around them. He spoke of the daily threat of anti-Semitic hatred that means that Jewish buildings, synagogues and even schools required round-the-clock security. And he said that that hatred was rising and must be defeated. Now, we understand that police have been mobilised across the country, patrols have been stepped up, and of course one of the things that will have been discussed at that Cobra meeting is whether JTAC, that's the independent organisation that assesses the terror threat, will be upgrading it from substantial. That's what it is at the moment, that's level 3 out of 5, and of course another consideration will be whether this man was acting alone or as part of a group.
Amelia, thank you very much indeed. Well, joining me now is Nick Aldworth. He is the former National Coordinator for Counter-Terror Policing. Thank you very much for coming to the studio, Nick. As the government is trying to reassess the terror threat, what will they be looking at?
Okay, y'all, I'm going to have to shut it down. I can't get y'all to hit the like button.
To another level.
That's a great question, and they'll be looking for what intelligence they have at the moment and whether any of it is connected to this individual.
Yeah, I double tap the face of your phone. I hit the 3 dots at the top of the thumbs up. And if you take a like back, I will end it.
Or their associates, and whether any of that connection is
hey, smart boy.
i.e. we don't know where they are. We
Condolences
don't have
to those who were ill. May God keep us all safe. I agree.
They'll also be looking at the broader chatter, and is this mobilising people that we know have violent tendencies or extreme thoughts? Are they getting excited by what they've seen? Because we saw this previously. We saw an attack on the 22nd of March 2017 become the mobiliser for 4 other attacks afterwards.
So it's quite possible that there might be copycat attacks, or what I think the authorities call marauding terrorist attacks, so other people getting involved.
I think these things do have a potential to be a trigger. But also, you know, we are in a much better place than we were back in 2017 in terms of how we understand that thinking, who we're watching. We are in a much better place to respond. And interestingly, you know, these high holy days are actually very, very well protected.
Which is why the response was so quick?
Potentially, yeah. Certainly in London, we used to have an operation in place, which was probably the 2nd or 3rd largest operation that we actually run in London, second to a place like Notting Hill on New Year's Eve. Hundreds of officers out protecting the Jewish community.
I mean, the Israeli Foreign Minister, Gideon Saar, blamed the UK government today. He said they have failed to curb the toxic wave of anti-Semitism that is on the rise, directly linking that to this attack. Is it fair to lay that blame on the British government?
Well, look, the great thing about being a cop is you just get to pick up the pieces. You don't get to worry about the politics. I think we all know we live in a very polarized binary world now, and people seek justification for violence in the most extreme and unusual ways.
I mean, the emotions generated by what's happened since October the 7th are extremely intense on both sides. How does one, as a police officer, how do you tell the difference between stuff online that is offensive and possibly even inciting to violence and an actual plan to do something terrible?
So it's hard. It's not straightforward, and one of the great challenges of fighting terrorism now is that we live in a world where people stay out of view of the security services. They stay at home. They radicalise themselves online by looking at material that they find in the darkest parts of the web. And it's that sort of lone actor, as we call it, terrorism, that's the most predominant feature in terrorism at the moment in the UK and globally, actually, certainly in Europe. We don't have that inspired and motivated terrorism that we had in the days of Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. It's not to say it's gone away, but the predominant feature is people finding material and for whatever reason motivating themselves into thinking their response to that needs to be violent.
I mean, the Jewish community has been warning about a rise in anti-Semitism, vociferously for the last 2 years. Do you know if the authorities have matched that with increasing surveillance of anti-Semitism and broadened their net of inquiry into who might be behind these things?
Well, so I think if you look at the statistics, the fact that we've shown a recorded rise in hate crime and in anti-Semitic crime, that certainly says to me that the police have been receiving the information, and what they've been doing with it, I'm afraid I'm not really qualified to comment on any longer. But what I do know is this is a day that we feared and felt would come. We'd certainly seen it come in Europe in the past.
Yeah.
And because of that, we've always had this comprehensive approach to protecting the Jewish community. And in particular, there's an organisation called the Community Security Trust, CST, who are very strongly funded by government and who have security officers.
And they were present, yes, today, weren't they?
They were present today, and the security officer, I believe, that was present was funded as part of that programme. They are there to protect the Jewish community in the places where the Jewish community assembles, ostensibly being synagogues and schools.
Right. There are hundreds of synagogues and Jewish schools, thousands around the country. I mean, how do they now stay safe in the coming days where we might get copycat attacks?
So one of the things I saw in today's attack, or the response to the attack, was quite clearly the synagogue had locked itself down. And we now, thankfully, live in a world where we have a law around this, the Terrorism Protection of Premises Act, which gives clear guidance on how people should respond to terrorist attacks. And the most important guidance on that is a very simple plan of whether you can lock down your premises, whether you can evacuate people into it, whether you can communicate, and whether you can evacuate. But those things keep people safe.
But the kind of the toxic debate around all of this for the last 2 years does not help.
It definitely doesn't. And, we will see those adverse, ideologically driven narratives continue, and it's the job of police officers, security services to try and navigate their way through that noise and find the perpetrators and arrest them and take them out of action.
Nick Aldworth, thank you very much.
But one thing I saw here, I mean, come on, let's keep it real. One thing I saw here that I did not see at Charlie Kirk assassination, security of the police, or undercover, whatever, drew guns. All right. They drew guns to make sure that the people were safe or secure, and that, the threat was gone. Didn't see not one for Charlie Kirk. Did you? Who pulled the gun? Okay, so before I go, here go last night. There was a protest.
After several of those boats were intercepted by Israeli forces late Wednesday night. Now, for a full breakdown and everything that we saw, I do want to get to a report here, courtesy of Fox News, in which they have...
Okay, y'all, this is going to be it. If y'all can't get those likes up, I need 10 likes.
From both sides of the aisle, including the activists that are on those boats, but also Israeli forces.
So it was activists, and they were on their way to Gaza with aid.
This is the Israeli Navy. You are approaching a blockaded zone.
Tense moments at sea as Israel's Navy faces off with an international flotilla trying to deliver aid to Gaza.
We advise you that we are a humanitarian, non-violent solidarity mission to break the illegal siege.
The group says several of its nearly 50 boats were intercepted overnight in international waters. Israeli forces allegedly ramming some.
I thought that Netahumi, what is it? How you say? Yeah, him and Trump had reached an agreement. I thought that was this week, right? I covered it. Yeah, I thought that they reached an agreement of peace. And Trump said that he had agreed BB. Yeah. He agreed in English in front of the cameras. So it was a good thing. Yeah, as soon as he turned around, got on the plane, and went back to speaking his native tongue. Well, no, his second or third native tongue, because I mean, I don't know if they speak the same language from Poland, because that's where he's originally from, Polish. Yeah, he started speaking in a different tongue that he had no intention. He just said it for the cameras, I guess. So that was a whole smoke and mirrors. It was a stunt, a political stunt. Yeah, we humanitarians thinking there that it's peace, and we see hands up. No. They are here to divide, lie in our face, steal the money, and unalive innocent people.
But also Israeli forces that intercepted.
This is the Israeli Navy. You are approaching a blockaded zone.
Tense moments at sea as Israel's Navy faces off with an international flotilla trying to deliver aid to Gaza.
We advise you that we are a humanitarian, non-violent solidarity mission to break the illegal siege.
The group says several of its nearly 50 boats were intercepted overnight in international waters. Israeli forces allegedly ramming some of the boats at sea, while others were targeted with water cannons. Once vessels were stopped, troops climbed on board to take control. Israel's foreign ministry confirmed it had taken control of several vessels, but it posted a video of activist Greta Thunberg on X. Thunberg is one of 500 activists traveling with the flotilla. According to Israel, she and others are safe and have been taken to an Israeli port.
They present no threat nor danger to Israel.
Earlier in the day, EU leaders urged Israel not to threaten the flotilla, which had been called a provocation by the Israeli government. Some officials even accusing flotilla members of being linked.
Israeli government, isn't that the prime minister? I mean, is it that who was just with Trump? I mean, he called him his friend. Yeah. So what's really going on? In our face. You know, both of them are in the Epstein files. AunTeaFee. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Yeah, they both in there. They both are housing and hiding out Epstein. They agreed to move Maxwell. She's probably going to come up missing here soon. She's going to go to foreign land, continue their trafficking of minors and adults. Yeah, I mean, come on. Are we going to continue to play dumb, blind, and like we don't see what's really going on? I mean, really? So is it MAGA? Is it MAGA? Or is it MADA, making America dumb again? I mean, I don't know. What are we really doing here? But okay, I'm almost out of juice, so let me let this play. I don't like playing like I don't see what's going on, and it's blowing my mind that they led us to believe the other day, although I knew it wasn't true, that this was going towards peace.
Foreign ministry confirmed it had taken control of several vessels, but it posted a video of activist Greta Thunberg on X.
Hey, Mrs. Tom. Hey, Mimi.
Traveling with the flotilla. According to Israel, she and others are safe and have been taken to an Israeli port.
They present no threat nor danger to Israel.
Earlier in the day, EU leaders urged Israel not to threaten the flotilla, which had been called a provocation by the Israeli government. Some officials even accusing flotilla members of being linked to Hamas, a claim activists and supporters strongly reject.
We must remember it is a humanitarian mission that wouldn't be taking place if the Israeli government had allowed for the entry of aid.
Tom Rigotti, Fox News.
Have you ever wanted to see your home
They
from
playing in our
space?
face.
With this free satellite Earth Maps tool, you can zoom right down to your...
Thank you to T3RR0R for that report. Back out to this post on X, courtesy of Fox News there, in which they showcase that Greta Thunberg, the Swedish activist, was arrested after Israeli military intercepts Gaza-bound boats. We have several live images that we have continued to show you here live now from Fox regarding this entire situation. I want to bring
Humanitarians
looks on your screen right now.
rendering
so you do see
aid.
that live stream is still going. The Marionette saying that still sailing strong, and also it is the final boat remaining after several others were intercepted by Israeli forces. On the top right-hand side of your screen, another live look there in Madrid, Spain, as protesters continue to take to the streets because of the actions that have happened throughout the last several hours. And then on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, we do have the live image over in Rome, Italy, where protests also happening in that country. Now, we have seen that several of these attacks, at least the flotilla has reported that it has faced several issues on its way to Gaza to try to break that Israeli blockade and bring that humanitarian aid to Palestinians that are still held there in Gaza. Now, drone attacks have been reported. Organizers have said that the flotilla was targeted 3 times by drones, twice in Tunisia on September 8th and 9th, and once while sailing south of Greece just last week. In that last attack, the flotilla said it was targeted during the night by, quote, unidentified drones and communications jamming. Activists said at least 13 explosions were heard on and around several flotilla boats. No casualties were reported, but some boats did suffer damage. And it was not the first time activists trying to break Israel's Gaza blockade have come under attack. Another vessel said it was attacked by drones in May in international waters off Malta. An overland convoy traveling across North Africa also attempted to reach the border but was blocked by security forces aligned with Egypt in eastern Libya. In 2010, Israeli commandos raided the Mavi Marmara, a boat participating in an aid flotilla attempting to breach the maritime blockade of Gaza. 9 Turkish citizens and 1 Turkish American on board were killed. The last time an activist boat succeeded in reaching the strip was back in 2008. Going back to this entire war also, it began back on October 7th, 2023, so almost 2 years ago to the day. That's when Hamas-led militants stormed into Israel and killed 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and took 251 others hostage. Israel says its offensive is aimed at pressuring Hamas to surrender and return the remaining 48 hostages, about 20 of whom Israel believes are still alive. Most of the rest were released in ceasefires or other deals. The Israeli offensive has killed at least 66,000 Palestinians, according to the Gaza Health Ministry.
66,000. Okay, y'all, I know. I got to go. I'll be back 5:30. Turn on.
The ministry is part of the Hamas
Turn on
government.
what?
Its figures are seen as a reliable estimate of wartime
I'll be
deaths
back.
by
I got a schedule for 5:30.
many independent experts.
Make sure you hit the like, share, subscribe, join the membership. Make sure you have the top bell on your subscriber mode so that you can get your notifications. 5:30. 5:30. I'm about to
it does seem that we just lost that live feed coming out of Madrid, Spain. So I'm going to transition now and bring us this full image that we have of that live stream that is still going of the Marionette there. That is the last remaining boat in the flotilla that was intercepted by Israeli forces. Going back to the United Nations, though, which has been monitoring this very closely, we heard remarks from the Palestinian president at the UN General Assembly, as well as U.S. President Donald Trump, and also Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. After that assembly wrapped up, we also saw that President Trump met with the Israeli Prime Minister to talk about the steps going forward as that war does continue. We have also seen several of these Western countries recognizing a Palestinian state as well, including French President Emmanuel Macron and also UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, many others as well, though. And as you can see, protesters continue to step out to the streets as many people are monitoring this very closely here. Now, this live stream, we brought up the audio a little bit earlier on today. We couldn't really hear anything. I'm going to try again, though, to see. It was a lot of
see you at 5:30.
But perhaps we could hear some of the dialogue happening between some of the activists on this boat. So let's listen in briefly.
Listen, paying $14.99 a month for a streaming app and $9.99 a month for a music app and $12.99 for
So as you can see, still not much sound coming from this live stream of that flotilla that is still going there, trying to get humanitarian aid to Gaza. I want to move back to some more of those live images that are here on your screen. This one being, well, the biggest one being that live stream of that last boat. And then up on the right-hand side of your screen, it's a different live look that we haven't been showcasing just yet. This is over in Cyprus. This is at a port where a vessel that was part of the Gaza flotilla had arrived after avoiding interception by Israeli authorities. And then we continue to have that live image down there over in Rome, Italy, as hundreds, if not thousands of protesters still out there on the streets protesting against the detainment of several of those activists that were part of that flotilla. So I just want to remind everyone that we are monitoring this very closely. This is happening live right now. We are watching it in real time with everyone else here, and we are continuing to get several of those images. I want to get some more context, though, on some of these negotiations and some of the talks between President Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister. So the White House has said that President Trump has a, quote, red line for deciding Hamas isn't serious about his latest peace plan. The president, however, will not say what that is. Fox News correspondent Jackie Heinrich has more from the White House.
You've got to swallow some tough pills so that we end this war, we end the suffering, we get the hostages out.
UN Ambassador Mike Waltz says President Trump is pushing hard to get Hamas to sign off on the latest peace proposal. President Trump announced it earlier this week. Now, the White House says he'll set a, quote, red line on how long Hamas has to respond.
This is an acceptable plan, and we hope and we expect Hamas should accept this plan so we can move forward with a more peaceful and prosperous Middle East.
But it's not clear what that red line will be. President Trump said Monday he wanted to hear back from Hamas in 3 or 4 days, or he'll support Israel going into Gaza to finish the job. But Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says this time things look hopeful because there's a lot of pressure from Arab states.
We have a lot of support for the plan, a lot of buy-in. Do we have some details to work out? Yes.
The Israelis say they're losing patience as well, and time is running out for Hamas to sign off on the agreement.
The decision is theirs, but they should know this. It can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way, but it will be done.
Meanwhile, the situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate for displaced Palestinians. Many say they're not sure how much longer they can hold on.
Every 2 or 3 days, we find ourselves displaced with no space, no food, no water, no life.
We're told sensitive negotiations are ongoing, suggesting Hamas may be trying to revise some of the 20-point plan. At the White House, Jackie Heinrich, Fox News.